Hello, Pastor Nanette Christofferson, and along with Pastor Steve Talmadge, we offer these short Bible studies on our lectionary readings. This week we are in lectionary week 13, and our Old Testament reading comes from Isaiah chapter 51, 1 through 6. As we look to Isaiah and we look to where we're at in Isaiah, this is known as the second part of Isaiah, often called by scholars as Deutero-Isaiah, meaning that in this time frame, this is the time frame in which the Israelites are now in captivity in Babylon. And as we look to the readings in Isaiah, we see that there's hope, that the prophet Isaiah is giving the Israelites hope that they are to look back and yet also to look forward, because soon their captivity will end and their time in exile will also end. Oftentimes, we know that this is true in our spiritual life, and it's true for generally a lot of us, that it's important to look back, not only while we're driving, right, in the rearview mirror, but look back on our lives. So let's take a look at what our commentary has to say about looking back. Sometimes we look at our situation and know we're in trouble. It happens with individuals, with churches, with communities, and with nations. What do you do when you're in trouble? Where do you look when you need hope and encouragement? Isaiah 51, 1 through 6 takes place at a time when the Israelites are in a time of change. Relief is coming soon and they will go back to their home. This text is to offer hope and encouragement to those who have been in exile their whole life, for many had been born into exile. This is the time that in order for their faith to survive, they must practice it. And this was really, really important. And we heard Jeremiah prophesy and tell the Israelites that while they were in captivity, they were to go about doing what they would normally do. They are to bury their dead. They are to pass on their faith. And that this is a very important part if they are to hold on to whose they are as God's chosen people. So let's read from Isaiah 51, 1 through 6. Listen to me, you that pursue righteousness, you that seek the Lord. Look to the rock from which you were hewn, and to the quarry from which you were dug. Look to Abraham your father, and to Sarah who bore you. For he was but one when I called him. But I blessed him and made him many. For the Lord will comfort Zion. He will comfort all her waste places, and will make her wilderness like Eden, her desert like the garden of the Lord. Joy and gladness will be found in her, thanksgiving and the voice of song. Listen to me, my people, and give heed to me, my nation, for a teaching will go out from me, and my justice for a light to the peoples. I will bring near my deliverance swiftly. My salvation has gone out, and my arms will rule the peoples. The coastlands wait for me, and for my arm they hope. Lift up your eyes to the heavens, and look to the earth beneath. For the heavens will vanish like smoke, the earth will wear out like a garment, and those who live on it will die like gnats. But my salvation will be forever, and my deliverance will never be ended. So let's start here. Let's look here first. The prophet is addressing those who are trying. They are the ones that pursue righteousness and that seek the Lord. To pursue is to both chase, to seek is to search for. Both words imply acts that are being undertaken and goals that have not yet been reached. But that's what faithful people do. They know they've not arrived and that they must keep pursuing and seeking. Their faithful trying is their success. The prophet's purpose is to encourage those who are faithfully trying to be faithful to look ahead to God's promised deliverance. They are in exile, but God is going to take them home. Paradoxically, he tells them to look forward by looking back. Specifically, he tells them to look back to Israel's original parental pair, Abraham and Sarah. They are the rock from which the exiles were hewn, and the quarry from which they were dug. Irony abounds here, though, as we first look at rock. It is an image of strength and stability. The exiles, torn from their land, their institutions, and, some would say, from their God, hardly seem strong and stable. Yet the prophet calls them to remember that they come from ancestors of unquestioned resolve and perseverance. They carry the same granite in their spirits. even if they feel as if it has been ground into dust. Second, Abraham and Sarah are known for being the parents of a great nation. But Israel has gone from being a great nation to being few in number. Abraham was but one when God called him, but I blessed him and made him many. We might put this in cosmological terms. Sarah and Abraham started a big bang that resulted in an expansion that led to descendants as numerous as the stars in heaven. But the exiles and those left in Judah, whom the prophet does not directly address, are all that is left after a big crunch, a rapid contraction brought on by invasion and deportation. So how are they going to move forward? The late Page H. Kelly pointed out the exiles are in the same geographical area from which Abraham and Sarah began their faith journey. He said that fact gives the words more meaning, but some of that meaning is communicated through irony. The exiles are being called out of Mesopotamia as Abraham was. On the one hand, they are starting over. On the other hand, that they must start over reveals how far backwards they have gone. When the exiles look back to Sarah and Abraham, they see ancestors who were strong, who grew from few to many, and who left their home in Mesopotamia to follow God. When they look at themselves, they see people who are weak, people who have shrunk from many to few, and who are back in Mesopotamia. But in looking back, they gain encouragement to move forward. The prophet tells the exiles to look up to the heavens, to look down at the earth beneath, and to look around at their oppressors. The astral bodies look permanent, but they have in fact been there for billions of years. But they aren't. Human beings have never known life without the earth, but it will pass away. The taunts of the oppressors seem like they will last forever, but they won't. In contrast, the Lord says, my salvation will be forever, and my deliverance will never be ended. Or as the gospel text says of the church, the gates of Hades will not prevail. Sometimes it might seem like Hades is doing just fine against us, but it won't last. God's salvation and deliverance do come, and they never end. So just look around. The prophet calls on the exiles, and we call on our churches to look back, to look up, to look down, and to look around in order to find reasons to look ahead to God's deliverance that is surely coming. So let's take a look at a few questions. I'd like you to think about times and reflect upon times in your life when your vision has been narrowed and you haven't looked all around. What did you discover about this? At times in our life, we can see that where we might be situated might seem like an impossible situation to get out of. But oftentimes, God calls us to look around, to look at the ways He is providing for us. And when we can expand our vision, when we're focused on God, we discover how big God is. If you were a prophet or just someone who could give advice to the Israelites, what advice would you give them as they get ready to go back to the motherland? Well, I think just like the prophets did, I think we would all kind of hope and pray that they would stay true to God's laws as best that they can, and to learn from past mistakes, to not forget Abraham and Sarah and what God did through them and what God will do through His people again. I hope you have some time this week to walk in the Word and to read over this passage and to think about looking back and looking forward. May God bless you this week.